Rankings are now, and have been for a long time, a pivotal point in Resident Evil's history of creating challenges for players. Almost every single RE game has some sort of ranking system players can use to prove their skills in the game they love, and Resident Evil 4 Remake is no exception to the rule. While unfortunately the original RE4 from 2005 is one of the few without a true ranking system, Capcom changed that when they remade RE4 to give us the challenge of getting that S+ rank. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to play Resident Evil 4 on the professional difficulty for the first time and go for the S+ rank. Going for the S+ in this game is unique in itself, as 2 criteria must be met to achieve it. We must beat the game in under 5.5 hours and can only save a maximum of 15 times, which for anyone who's played it already knows the pro difficulty in this game does not have autosaving, which means all deaths will result in starting over from the most recent save. An additional difficulty feature is that all parries now must be perfectly timed parries to be accomplished. Seems hard enough, right? Well, not for me, I guess, because I decided to do this run with absolutely no special weapons as well. These include the Chicago Sweeper, Infinite Rocket Launcher, Hand Cannon, and Primal Knife. I also have a specific save route plan that gives us 1 extra save to work with. Now, with everything laid out for now, let's jump into Chapter 1. Now that we're getting started, you already know I had to pick the Pinstripe outfit for the swag. Oh, and a flight cap, I guess? I don't know, man. I must have accidentally went and put that on, but it does come off later for some new swag. The first cabin scene is just as simple as usual. The only real barrier is the enemy from the basement, but you can either swiftly dodge him or tank a hit and move around him after. On the way to the door to the village, we run past all enemies, but make the interesting decision to give the Sentinel 9 and Skull Crusher shotgun a try for this run. Don't worry, I confirmed that these are for sure not considered special weapons. The village fight only resulted in a few deaths, until the church bell finally rang and we get to hear him say the line. Just kidding, for the sake of time, we're skipping every skippable thing we can. The farm area doesn't give us much trouble, and we just barely make it past the enemies by abusing some iframes while pushing this cart. The next area doesn't present us with much trouble, even though the dynamite throws can be a bit tedious sometimes, but we push through and make it to save Lewis, closing out Chapter 1 relatively easily, aside from some deaths in the village fight. We also make our first save here at the end of Chapter 1. To start off Chapter 2, I have some delusional thoughts, and while trying to make an effort to retrieve our items, I just don't make the door. That's the first time that's happened to me. The guy in the furnace room tried to get in our way, but we were able to get past him and obtain our things, but not before grabbing the treasure in this furnace. Once outside, we actually run right past the merchant this time and head straight to Dynamite Valley, Pink Mist Valley, whatever you want to call it. All in all, it didn't end up being too difficult to slide by the enemies here. You know, except for those few times where I felt some minor consequences of what dying in pro is like. Just shoot this barrel to force aggro on the enemies and be prepared to be reactive, and you'll have the emblem and be solving the puzzle in no time. In the next room, I wanted to try to be sneaky and grab the treasure, which worked for one enemy, but I caught the attention of the other, so I decided to keep on trucking through and leave the treasure behind. As some of you may know, an old friend is about to show up in front of us, which you may think will be a roadblock, but not today, baby. We have hand grenades! Although the Ganados pre-set up defenses got the best of me because I was so focused on the fact I made it past so easily. Fortunately, even though the enemies on pro move at the speed of literal sound, I was able to get out of the bear trap in time and head inside the Big Cheese's place, solve the ore puzzle, and grab the Illuminato's key in order to move on to Chapter 3. We also did save at the end of Chapter 2. Our first goal in Chapter 3 is obviously to save our dog friend. Technically, it gives El Gigante more health, but we cannot sink into being monsters like them, right? Using our new key, we open the door outside the Big Cheese's house and find our way back to the original village, where disaster strikes and the tower blows up in front of us, blocking our paths. Fortunately, we know which way to go, even though we may make some bad decisions along the way. After that tragedy, we find ourselves in contact with another merchant, which we will be saying hi to this time, selling our unnecessary items and giving our combat knife a much needed repair. All merchant visits are going to be big decision points, but we don't have much time to make them, so we have to be quick and concise at every merchant stop, and most importantly, be ready to stick with what we decide to take. For that reason, I chose not to pick anything up at this merchant after selling. I just couldn't justify buying anything for what I knew was coming up, which is the church. Honestly, you can pretty easily run past the church enemies, which, a quick note, I did mutilate some gravestones as I came through, and the area right after before the next room. 1 to 2 pumps with your shotgun towards any enemy in your way, and you're straight through. Some evil doggos tried their best to give me some trouble, but we were able to slip past them. In the next room, we're faced with a merchant and a typewriter, neither of which we will be interacting with, and heading straight to the swamp. The swamp is another area that seems difficult, but really isn't. You can just run past the enemies and one pump the ones that move in your way. As long as you follow a similar path like the one I show here, you grab the gasoline and make your way out fairly easily. I did grab a crow's nest treasure while I was in the swamp, as well as this hand grenade hanging out in a small cabin before heading out. Now we have earned a save. We're going to save right here before Del Lago and going straight into the fight. Del Lago isn't terribly hard, just tedious. It takes a lot of spears to kill him, and his health resets after each phase if you don't kill him fast enough, which... Okay, hold up. I'm editing this in post almost 8 months after I recorded this. Just so you guys know, there's going to be an updated village section. That's coming. But most importantly, I am just now realizing that this fish has human teeth. Can just be a pain, but we do kill him, and I do get really good at this boss fight by the end of chapter 4. The next chapter leads off with us running into our first Las Plagas enemy, which we swiftly run by and come across a cave with 2 hands waiting for an offering before we can be given the key to the church. The route for this chapter I took is simple. Immediately hop on the boat and head left down the cave to get the harder one full of enemies. These guys are actually really easy to run past until you get the skull and jump back down at the end. Then you may have to shoot some of the quicker enemies with a shotgun shell for a stun to get past them and open the door to get back on the boat. Once back on the boat, we head out of the cave into the open water and head to the middle of the lake to grab not only a treasure, but the coveted and, most importantly, free Red 9. Back on the boat now, we head down to the next cave to obtain the next skull, which is tucked in a small cabin with no enemies protecting it. After grabbing it, we head out and skirt the left side of the lake to come up on the boathouse just before the cave, heading back to the merchant in order to use a harpoon to take out the lunker bass so we can sell it to the upcoming merchant for some spinels. Back at the merchant, it's finally decision time. We need more things to fight El Gigante without a doubt. I sold some things and purchased the recipe for flash grenades, and instead of buying new weapons, put money into upgrading the ones we already had. Which, post-production Jeeps, would call me an idiot. Even though we went into the El Gigante for the first time with a real purpose, we tried our very damnedest and almost got off free our first try, but just came up a little short. Which means we're going back to do it again. It all again. Yeah, this is what I meant when I said I got good at the Del Lago fight. We now have to fight Del Lago every time we want to attempt El Gigante, and well, it took a few tries. During this section, I also learned something vital to our success. I noticed that every death, if I selected load from the game over screen instead of continue, my in-game time seemed to still be going up. I thought that I was going to have to completely restart because I noticed a good 4 or 5 El Gigante attempts in, and my IGT was now at like an hour and a half, which for reference is right around where we end up leaving the village entirely for this run. The simple fix for anyone wanting to do this is when you die, instead of loading, you need to quit the game. Then load the save file from the main menu, and your in-game time will be the same as it was when you initially saved there. Don't ask me why, I don't make the rules, man. But finally, after becoming a Chapter 4 expert at this point, we were able to pull it out. Oh, by the way, I had a timer up to show how the real time was during the run, but it kind of broke, so there's that. We finally won. Surely nothing bad can happen now, right? But wait! There's dogs outside the church, which normally isn't an issue, but damn, on Pro these things move so fast, and let's just say we had a really close call trying to get into the church. But we are finally inside, so we solved the light puzzle very quickly and grab Ashley to close out Chapter 4 and earn ourselves our next save. Chapter 5 can be easily summed up, well, at least the first half. Just the goal to get from the start of the chapter to the next save, which is the typewriter in the farm, took nearly an hour, but we did make it. As far as the cabin goes, it only took 2 attempts. Having the save right there was fantastic, and getting back was easy enough. It could become stressful at times, but as long as you try to treat the entire cabin as one big circle, and essentially run the enemies into a loop while successfully dodging them and kicking down some ladders, you'll run the timer out for the section in no time. We are not supposed to save here. However, I made what ended up being a very wise decision to make a save at the end of Chapter 5. Oh, Chapter 6. Chapter 6 was a lot of trial and error. A lot of redoing the entire chapter and a lot of death. I'll just run you all through the final plan that ended up sticking. At the start of the chapter, we need to talk to the merchant. Time to say goodbye to the Skull Shaker because we're using our spinel to buy a yellow ruby and putting it in the butterfly lamp we have. Using this money, we buy the riot gun, which is a much better shotgun overall. With that, we grab every single thing and open the door to the next room. First thing in front of us is an enemy we need to stealth kill to the left, but don't move forward too fast. Watch the next guy's position through the wood to see if you can move in. Sometimes you can go instantly, but sometimes you need to wait a moment to stealth kill him as well. Once they're both down, immediately head to the left and up the stairs to grab the treasure at the top, and immediately turn back around, head back down the stairs, and come to this corner to grab the large resources that are always here. I personally had to grab these resources most runs in order to craft a flash grenade, even though some runs I got lucky with random drops and was able to have 2. Either way, once you have the flash grenade, turn the corner and quickly throw it forward and up toward the general middle right. You need to react to the way the enemies stagger, but stay as close to the right as possible, and I conclude that maybe 8 out of 10 times actually won't get grabbed. Generally, this strat will get you through this room without much heartache. In the Bella Sisters arena, I shot this treasure down every time before starting. Then, when I rounded the corner, I picked up the TMP ammo, turned left, and headshotted the 2 Ganados patrolling here before picking up the shotgun shells right next to them. Fun fact for those of you who may not know, you can actually do a cool trick to shoot the lock on this door early, which makes moving in this area when the sisters spawn much easier. Make sure Ashley is hidden, no matter what you choose, no matter which locker, and then start the fight. My general strategy was to try and get as many headshots as possible on the sisters and then run out the door I came in, head up the stairs using the shotgun to take out the Molotov thrower, and look down the stairs to do as much damage to as many enemies as I could. Then head left and shotgun any enemies in the path, all while periodically turning around to get some damage into those behind me and to also let them catch up so I could properly loop them. Once they caught up, I would jump down right here and continue the loop. If you ever played Black Ops Zombies before, it's kind of the similar idea to that. Sometimes things get crazy and you may have to loop in the lower area because a group of enemies decided not to follow you, but that's okay because you can take this chance to do some massive fire damage to the sisters with these hanging lanterns. And if you can't get back to the main stairs, you can always use the ladder to get back up and return your loop to normal. This is also worth considering just to get that fire damage, not only on the sisters, but also the enemies that are surrounding you as well. If you follow this, I can say that I at least was 9 times out of 10 consistently winning this fight and moving on to the next room. The Mendez chase scene is nowhere near as bad as it seems. Use the riot gun or even a pistol if you're confident with your headshots. It's literally so quick and short, I'll show you the whole thing.
Don't worry about them. Break already. This way.
Now. Here we are. The big cheese. I'll just keep it quick. This guy took me damn near 6 hours to finally beat. I just don't have it anymore, I guess, or something. I'm not good at video games anymore. I don't know. It just would not click for so long. But on the final run, it just worked. I tried so many things, but here's the final merchant setup I had. I bought the elegant mask and mixed my sapphires with it for enough money to upgrade my knife's durability and repair it, as well as give my heavy hitters like the TMP and riot gun a upgrade, as well as purchase a case upgrade while it's on sale for this chapter only. I would show some times I died, but it's literally filled with baby rage, so here's when I finally won against Mendez.
Give my regards to your god. This fire's bound to catch their attention.
My heart is beating through the fucking roof right now.
I'm not gonna turn into one of them, right?
I cannot believe this is finally over.
I promise.
Anyways, after that, we finally earned a save at the end of chapter 6 and move into the castle. So, you're probably thinking that from here, we will be heading onto the castle just like a normal playthrough, but let me tell you a story first. I'm talking to you from 2024 now, and the previous footage was from May 2023. I foolishly jumped right into the professional difficulty without preparing for it or letting my frontal lobe fully develop. For that reason, I sucked at the game still, and Mendez was just the start of my descent into sanity. After this, I did a full 6 hours or so stream of attempts to never make it past chapter 7, specifically the water hall. So, naturally, I just stopped and released some other videos in between, then decided to come back to it. I decided to start the file completely over and hit it from the start again after doing every single main game challenge except for these 4. How did I do it? I came back as a new person with a new goal, that's how. One last special note to mention before we start redoing the village section. As far as that whole save strategy thing went, just throw it out the window. Okay, don't even bother. I'm just gonna save at the end of every chapter. Leon is now cosplaying as some green guy, and that power is gonna get us through the village again. For the first village fight, you want to stealth kill this lady and then grab this hand grenade and throw it here. Then head inside the cutscene building for our shotgun. That's right, no Skull Shaker or Sentinel 9 this time. Defend the window from whoever may come up, then pop out the other window to throw another grenade, and defeat most of, if not all, required enemies. I had to poke at another few, but the village was still relatively harmless. Farm. Shoot lock, grab cog, just grab the cog, climb, place cog, run. Red Mist Valley strategy stands. Next, get choked out while cosplaying. Chapter 3 doesn't really change either. Fight the fish and hope for good luck. Chapter 4. Instead of going straight to the wrecked ship after the first head, skirt to grab the lunker bass and make sure you stop at the chicken farm and get some eggs, especially the golden one. Do not use it until I say so. El Gigante. I can't help you. I still suck at it. Now we have saved Ashley, who looks like a character from a Nintendo 64 game I played once. Run through the church in a line like this and you'll pretty consistently be able to make it through the enemies. Throw a flash here and hope Ashley follows you. Do yourself a favor and shoot these guys in the legs when she does. Cabin time. Use the boards and the upstairs to your advantage. You can use the top floor to run rounds Black Ops zombie style, and this will specifically help with the brute when he decides to come on in. Chapter 6 was still a pain in the ass. Try to do as much damage to the Bella sisters up front as possible. Rifle headshots will save you so much time, and you can use flash grenades for easy melee attacks. You'll probably end up killing everyone in here regardless. Mendez chasing goes the same, and the Mendez fight is a battle of attrition. This chapter still took me a couple times after I was a vetted main game player, so always have a round ready for the explosive barrels, and always be ready to press the dodge button no matter what, and you'll make it. All said and done, the adventure for the Master Sword, to rescue Princess Zelda, the President's Daughter, concludes at about 1.5 hours in-game time, similar to the old playthrough, but this time all in one sitting and with a much more kept together brain. Once we stepped into the castle, well, Leon seemed to remember about last time we went to the village and he wasn't looking so good. So it looks like Ashley's going to have to step up to the plate to get us through the castle. I should note now what I should have already. For most rooms, I'm quickly getting just about every loot drop as long as it's not too time consuming. Also, there's going to be a full video of this entire run for you all to follow along step by step on my second channel, Jeeps_2, if you want to do exactly what I do besides random drops, of course. I sold the starting pistol and grabbed the blacktail solely out of personal preference and some large resources for future use. Make sure you have Ashley in the away state and then crouch under this enemy. She'll never get grabbed if she's like that, but be sure to call her back in before heading up the stairs. Get rid of this archer somehow and shoot the weight through the gate as you come up the stairs. Once through the catapult cutscene, be sure to take out this guy swiftly with a headshot and then turn the corner for one more. I like to pull out my pistol here to save some ammo and shoot the explosive barrel. Up ahead, ideally, we take this guy out with a shotgun and then turn for one more rifle shot to the enemy that rushes in. Next, we come up the stairs and take out yet another enemy that rushes in and turn for another explosive barrel. Patiently wait for a catapult cycle, and on the other side towards the cannon, another enemy will spawn that you can either defeat with the shotgun or allow to grab Ashley and then take a stealth kill. Then, just use the cannon to clean up, honestly. The next room has Salazar sending some enemies our way, but we're just going to beeline to the lift spot and quick turn as soon as we can. Run a big loop around the room and try to enter as soon as Ashley opens the door. Don't worry about looting that room for now, because it'll be empty later. Next is the Garrow door in the dungeon, and it's really easy as long as you have either a flash or hand grenade. Run down the hall and shoot 2 times at the corner here, then run forward and turn around and throw a grenade to stun the Garrow door long enough for us to open the gate. There's a sword puzzle ahead, and to be honest with you guys, if you don't know how to solve it, you shouldn't be playing on Pro yet. Back in the main hall, we swing across to open the path forward and also take the time to loot it properly, as we can get a lot of valuable treasures for later in here. Next is the water hall. And for those of you who have been around for a while, you know we don't like to talk about the water hall, but we kind of have to this time. Plan on taking this seriously slow. I promise the time will pay off in dividends towards your sanity later. I like to grab a couple drops here and then use a rifle bullet to start the fight, then immediately head back to the previous room. The enemies will follow you in here, and we can make a stand with the riot gun and our knife if some happen to grab Ashley. Also, if things get too crazy, you can back up further into the room and the enemies will retreat. There will be 2 waves of ground enemies, so once the coast seems clear, it's probably not. After the coast is clear, it's time to start hitting fadeaways on all the crossbow snipers aloft in the balconies. After they're all clear, we can actually loot the top part of the room. Really hope for some grenades and ammo drops here. Before dropping down to the lower section, we craft a flash grenade and start popping some heads to reveal the scripted plaga enemies down here in hopes to defeat as much as we can with one flash. Sometimes there's a straggler, but we can use the environment to our advantage and loot the area below as well as grab the wheel. Once you place the wheel, another archer will spawn, and as you head up the stairs, one last archer that I really sucked at hitting spawns. From here, it was just kind of spray and pray for me, along with another flash to buy some time for the wheel. Ashley got hit on the winning run, but if she's downed, it's fine as long as we can make it up to the top. She will get up on her own, and the enemies will leave her alone from there, and we can go ahead and raise our portion of the bridge while we wait. This part is a little more scripted in the remake, fortunately. Once Ashley is up, we take out the first 4 enemies that come out with the pistol to save us some rifle ammo with about 3 shots each. Then we focus on the door where the scripted enemies spawn, taking out 1 on the right and 2 on the left. After Ashley finishes the first bridge piece, a running enemy will spawn on the right side, and then 1 last scripted enemy on the left. From there, it's all about you surviving, and here especially, I don't feel bad for wearing that beautiful chicken on my head for 1 second. Once Ashley says that she's done, make your way across, because as long as you make it to the other side, she won't get touched. And there she is. A little slow, but I promise we're still gonna have plenty of time. I went off the premise of my Hardcore S+ run that I did previous to this that had a whole hour and a half left over, so that's pretty much the time frame I see us working with. Chapter 7 and Chapter 15 were gonna be my more anticipated, let's just take our time here chapters. Anyways, Leon throws a little fit against Ashley, and we get separated by a gate. I'm sure it's just bottled up emotions from the past, you know? So we're gonna head into Chapter 8 to get him. We start out as Ashley on our own. We head to the left and do a little fishing and then grab the rhino beetle hidden on the wall. We desecrate another bird's nest for a specific scratched emerald and talk to the merchant once more. We sell a beautiful amount of accumulated treasures and take advantage of it by buying the body armor, some large resources, and the final power upgrade for the already broken bolt-action sniper rifle. The next area is the Crimson Lantern room, where we have to take down a red zealot for his prize. We stand at the door and shoot him with the rifle a few times, hoping that he runs to the right, which he does. The enemies pull up, so it's easy to get grabbed here, but up the stairs we can shoot an explosive barrel near the red zealot and finish him off quickly with the riot gun. This nets us the Crimson Lantern, and we can also grab a treasure really quick before jumping over the balcony and moving on. We run into our lover in a different space-time once again, and of course, we're matching, to an extent at least. You all are very welcome for me making an already sexually tense situation even worse with chicken heads. After Ada takes off, we have 3 lithographic stones to collect in this room that we can use to place in the wall and solve a quick little puzzle to open the way forward. We have that scary part with the first plug outside the body enemy, but we can breeze past with the riot gun and find ourselves in another battlement area. We actually do not stop with the merchant here and break the weight to move forward. We have 1 more weight to shoot and the drawbridge falls, revealing enemies behind it. Usually you can maneuver past these guys, but I messed up my movement, which ended up being fine regardless. We pull the sun moon switch and then head up the ladder. We will not be going around normally and throwing a hand grenade through the gate to destroy the weight. You can also shoot it kind of somehow if you angle it correctly, but I really didn't learn how to do that and I didn't want to risk it on my first run that had actually made it to Chapter 8. Outside, there's 1 more weight we have to shoot and then another sun moon switch to pull. From here, there is a tiny little gap we need to throw 1 more hand grenade through in order to start the armored gigante throwing things at his face. All I can say is I was extremely careful not to get hit while moving across because the last thing I wanted was to have a completely clear shot and die. We had to shoot some more of the weights inside to ultimately raise a cannon to the highest level, where, once again, I took my sweet time, and then mount the cannon to defeat the gigante. We used the cannon to take out some enemies that spawn on our path, and then blow the doorway, clearing another battlement section. We enter the far side of the maze and unlock the door to finally reunite with Leon. He seems to be struggling with whether he can go on or not, but Ashley knows he can, and tells him that, giving Leon a start to a new confidence going into Chapter 9. Now, we need to enter the maze proper with the goal of raising 3 flags by flipping switches to open the gate out. The biggest note here is the dogs as we traverse the maze. Try to memorize where they come out at and where the cages are, because the more ready you are to take them out fast, the more likely chance they won't put their Plaga armor on, which makes them significantly tougher. Of course, we stop by and grab the elegant chessboard before climbing up the ladder for flag number 2. There's a few surprise dogs here that run through the maze that you can pre-aim and shoot as soon as they jump out. Another cage is here with 3 dogs this time, and we decided to throw a hand grenade at them, which kind of helped, but we still had to take on a Plaga dog. We need Ashley to hold a switch for us in order to get to the final flag, which raises the gate to the exit. However, as soon as we step out, enemies rush the maze. Use the sniper rifle here to take out as many coming in as you can before dropping down. This made this room significantly easier, honestly, and even though Ashley decides to just kind of stop for some reason, there was basically no enemies left to stop us leaving after we retrieved her. Now we have to retrieve all the pieces for the Chimera statue and decide to go for the goat head first, as we're going to do a trick there that would basically be a chapter reset if we missed it. While crossing the bridge, we throw a flash grenade at the lever just as the enemy is coming in to stop them from pulling it entirely. Note that you can also do this with a hand grenade as well. I actually made the world's worst mistake of my entire life in here because I didn't even know you could jump over the rails here, but surprisingly, I was able to run back up and grab the goat head easily. It did make the trip out a bit more crowded though. Next is the Knight's Room with the lion head. We jump down and definitely clear out all the resources before even starting. The strategy to follow here is to damage the Armaduras until they fall to their knees and give them a kick to explode the Plaga. Repeat until both are out and hit them with the flash grenade. And if you don't have any or enough, the rifle with a direct hit to the Plaga is going to be your best bet. The second round is another set of 2, but this time Ashley throws down some blue fire that stuns the knights and gives us a free kick. Try to lure the knights into this as best as you can, and the next set will be down before you know it. The last set is a trio, and it was pretty extremely close call for me, but the strategy remains the same, and I honestly kind of felt like a gamer again when I actually survived with low health. The last head is the snake head, and all we have to do is solve a quick little dinner table puzzle to retrieve it. After placing all the heads, we're on to the Ashley section? Or Leon section? I don't know, I'm confusing myself at this point. We grab the lantern and head to the clock where the solution is set for 7 o'clock on the hardcore and professional difficulties, and then head down the elevator. Here, we have to pull some drawstrings to open the gate and the Armaduras activate as we go. But as long as you don't try to be the cool guy and actually point the lantern at them, it's smooth sailing. We solve the lantern puzzle to get the Salazar family insignia and make a break for the exit. We very carefully go around the Armadura in the center and activate the elevator to go up. This is definitely the scariest part of this section, as there's a knight on the stairs here, so we decide to play it ultra safe and skirt around him while he's on the lower level. Now it's pretty much free, as you can run past the last 2 Armaduras and place the insignia to save Ashley. Leon is pretty proud of his work, and Ashley offers to catch him so they can reunite, but Salazar's right hand comes to scoop up Leon, causing Ashley to lose him to the clutches of the castle once again. We have a pretty long battle ahead of us for Chapter 10. First, we have the Novistadors to get past. We dispatch the first few that pop up and use the stairs to run from the following few that spawn in. There are some nice items in the hall before the main room where the fight starts. There are 2 levers in this room that we must pull to open the gate forward, and we decide to head to the left one first. The Novies will get in the way, and ideally you will need to clear the ladder so they can't knock you off at the very least. We drop down and cross the room to climb the stairs to the next lever, where many Novies will be piling up at this point. Expect to take some hits, and maybe throw some flashes, or shoot the shotgun until you can get to the lever and drop down to make the exit. Many of you probably already know what's coming next, and it's a boss battle in the form of not 1, but 2 Garradors, with the added effect of 1 being armored. I expected this room to be a complete nightmare, honestly, but with a cool head, a shotgun, a rifle, and some heavy grenades, it's not so bad. The general idea was to get both Garradors as close as possible to throw heavy grenades that will affect both. Then, shoot the Plagas with the rifle, pending that the fodder didn't get in the way. Naturally, the unarmored Garrador went down first, and the armored Garrador was a little harder to hit, but with some lucky drops, we were able to take them out seriously easily, and without even having to defeat all the fodder. Salazar has his minion throw us into a pit as per usual, but they didn't account for our super plot armor strength, so we grab a dangling chain and find ourselves surrounded by some zealots that didn't necessarily stick the landing the same as we did. There's some more Novies in the waterway here that I suggest using the shotgun to take out as they pop up for a little bit more ease. I take the left route, which usually ends up in seeing 3 Novies, not including the one at the very beginning. Ashley shows his unnecessary strength by kicking a wall down, and next thing we know, we're up the ladder and having a headache. We have a merchant at the end of the hall where I had hoped I could scrounge up enough money for a rocket, but wasn't so lucky. Instead, we sell the riot gun and move on to the beauty that is the striker shotgun. We also repair everything we can as we head into the Stalker's realm. Verdugo is next, and to be honest with you all, I wouldn't even bother fighting him. The first time he drops in, we freeze him and blast away with the striker until he runs away, allowing us to turn the valve to exit and start the elevator rising. There is a massive number of resources and treasures in here, and I honestly tried to defeat him because I got some seriously good ammo and heavy grenade drops, but ultimately it wasn't worth it. I would save those items because Verdugo really isn't that hard to loop, and you can hop in the elevator without wasting all those valuable resources like me. It's time to run around the underground with Luis a bit. Our first goal will be to grab the dynamite to blow the rocks ahead, and well, my first attempt went great. After that, I took the same route of heading up the left stairs and blasting the shovel guy with the shotgun, then heading inside to dodge the chainsaw sister and pull the lever to lower the bridge, head downstairs and outside to move to the top of the stairs to defend until the drawbridge finally lowers. This allows us to grab the dynamite, and I also risked my life like a madman for the treasure at the end, but it miraculously worked out. We blow the rocks and find ourselves at a grate we can interact with. This is where the double Gigante fight begins, and Luis and ourselves split off with our own fight. We have the unarmored one, and unlike before, this one has a significantly lower amount of health and can be knocked down much easier. Fortunately, in here, we can just drop him into a lava pit to get rid of him and get the next phase started. Luis runs off, leaving us to bait the armored Gigante alone until he reappears with some more dynamite. I was really careful with this shot as I was hoping we could drop him over the grate, which worked, but also bear in mind that when he's knocked down, he can be pretty unrealistically off the center and still drop. We continue to trundle through the underground, chatting up Luis until we come across the minecart section, which is pretty cut and dry. A good note is that on the second trip, if you can make the shot here for these explosive barrels, it will significantly damage the Chainsaw Ganato's cart, and you can practically erase him from the equation immediately, making things much easier. At the end of the line is the Novi's nest. We decide to take out 3 of the 4 bulging nests while standing here and pick off some Novis that spawn and approach us. Down at the bottom is the first camouflage Novi. We take the bottom part relatively slow, clearing out each area using our weapons and explosive barrels. Once higher up, we can take out the last nest and then make a run for the little hole the merchant is hiding in. This kind of resets the enemies and gives us a clear line to the elevator we need to take down with Luis. Krauser enters the scene, and to be honest, I was really nervous for this fight. Either I have got really good at parrying, or the margin for quote-unquote perfect is a lot larger when dealing with Krauser in this fight. We take pokes at him with our knife and hope for melee prompts as often as we can get them. Every time Krauser jumps behind us, we just run forward to get out of the way and occasionally loop some of the cargo bins. Just do yourself a favor and be ready to dodge at any given time, because you will have to. It's a small battle of attrition, but surprisingly, we close the fight out and the entire chapter out on the first try, putting us on a bit of a hot streak in the castle. Our Don Quixote leaves us to go off to a better place, leaving us to carry on his will. Starting out the final castle chapter, we clear out any remaining items and make our way up. I thought long and hard about making the trek to retrieve the second golden egg, but ultimately decided to opt for another plan. We grab everything and chat with the merchant once again to do our usual due diligence for now, and then hop onto the trolley that takes us to the clock tower. This part is surprisingly easier than you might think. We skip Salazar blabbing and make our way to go up the stairs, skirting past enemies and probably getting grabbed a few times, but that's okay. Most important is to take a few seconds to shoot the dynamite and the Salazar statue's head before stepping onto the wooden pathways. This skips that whole fire scene and saves us a lot of time. After climbing up, we usually would throw a flash grenade to help get past the first new set of enemies, and then never learn our lesson about the scythe guys. We use the shotgun to help clear our path as well as the spike balls that are coming down now. From here, we want to be pretty quick because we can pull the lever of the spike ball and then quickly jump down and start the lift. This will cause the first red zealot to spawn and basically immediately perish from the rolling spike ball. The highest priority enemies as we rise are the crossbow archers for sure, and the best strategy here is to pull up as many enemies as possible and utilize the absolute plethora of explosive barrels scattered throughout the way up. If enemies make it to the lift, use the striker or rifle to get rid of them quick. Most of them go down really easily, and as long as you basically ignore the second red zealot, he kind of just doesn't do anything. I made it past this part every time, and I had to do it 3 times for reasons that you'll see soon. Outside are some archers we want to dispose of before stepping off to the other side, preferably. We have to walk on the boards or they will collapse. Also, there's a treasure here in the center. We grab some more miscellaneous items and chat with the merchant one more time in the castle. I sold a pretty specific set of items, including treasures and resources, in order to have enough money to purchase the broken butterfly and get at least 1 firepower upgrade on it. We say we'll see our friend on the other side, equip the golden egg, and head in. For those of you that don't know, a golden egg to the body part of Salazar will do about 80% damage to him, resulting in one of the best Easter eggs ever. Usually, I'm pretty good at hitting him, but the nerves got me, and I missed. Twice. Finally, on the 3rd try, we get the hit and pull out the broken butterfly to absolutely sink bullets into his exposed body. We came up short on taking him out before he was able to take off, but it only took a small amount to finish him off once we caught him. With Salazar down, we grab his lipstick and clear the room of items and hit the elevator down. Don't celebrate yet, because on the professional difficulty, there's not 1 but 2 armaduras hiding out just before the boat dock, ready to take us out. Outside, we grab a loan box and hear what just might be my favorite line from Let Ashley in this game. Like, honestly, dude was about to swim to the island to get the mission done, and that's what I call dedication. The boat has no keys, but fortunately our chicken hat wearing companion shows up with the key to our trip to the island. Turns out Leon just had to return to his roots to regain his confidence and rediscover himself as the chicken hat wearing police officer he is. We have a meeting with our chicken hat lover as she drives us to the island until she ditches us, and we have to carry on. The first part here is pretty simple if you're not me. All jokes aside, on the second attempt, we run through the ruins and throw a flash grenade to stun the brute so we can redirect the lasers and circle our way back. The exit was busy, but we made it through regardless. We used the striker to get some more menial enemies out of the way and head to the higher floor. We trigger the rocket launcher enemy to shoot while we hide and then make a horrible mistake heading up to the left, which caused for a lot of enemies piling up, but we were eventually able to jump down and head into the next area. In this room, we need to hit a switch upstairs in order to unlock the door below with a few enemies in the way. Next, we find where Ashley is being hidden and have to find a level 3 keycard to access her. We have to make our way past a brute really quick and then head into the lab-like area. Most of you know what's coming up, so we make our way around to switch the direction of the power and then head into the operation room. Of course, spending way too much time on a puzzle I should already know the solution to, in order to grab the level 1 keycard. Upon exiting, our blubbery friend is waiting for us, and on this difficulty, he is fast. He actually ended up interrupting us as we tried to switch the power back, so we had to loop him around again. In the freezer room, we activate the overriding process for the keycard and prepare our striker. We don't really have the means to kill this regenerator, but shooting it in the legs with the striker and waiting outside to dodge it is a great strategy to wait out the keycard. Once done, we grab the keycard and head to the next room where the enemies really unnecessarily stress me out for a second. We grab the thermal scope and find the regenerator hiding the wrench, making sure to try to get as many collateral shots as possible. With wrench in hand, we can, as the person who knocked down brick walls earlier, gently remove the bolt holding the plate for the overwrite machine in and start the process. We stand strong with our rifle, hoping to take out as many enemies as possible before they even reach us, and use a combination of the striker and flash grenades for when they get too close. Once we have the level 3 card, we can make a break for the door out of here, which was surprisingly a free straight shot. Now we have circled back to where we started and can finally rescue Ashley once again. Ashley is also in what may be a familiar outfit to some of you, so you can just go ahead and consider this Throwback City. I'll just tell you all right now, I made it all the way to the end of chapter 14 and died to Krauser because I didn't realize my knife was broke, but on the second try we got it, and we'll start from the beginning of the second attempt. While the island itself is a relatively short section, the chapters themselves are a bit jam-packed and arduous, and this really starts to show itself in chapter 14. Starting off, Ashley proclaims herself as the new master of unlocking, and we find ourselves at a merchant where we can pretty much just repair our knife and body armor. I really am not a fan of doing the start of chapter 14, especially on higher difficulties, but we found a way to make it pretty harmless. As soon as we drop down on the first area, we use the sniper rifle to take out the 2 wandering enemies, and then loot some trash bins and boxes before poking around the corner and taking a headshot on the last enemy guarding the stairs. If you don't do this, these guys will follow you into the next room, and it's just not worth it. In the boiler room-like area, we take a left at the ladder and eliminate the enemies that are already in here. Once again, if these guys are in here when the next set spawns, it just gets too crowded. We command Ashley to hold the door for us and make our way around to unlock the door. Ashley is destined to get grabbed here, so just plan for her to, and jump over the ledge right behind the enemy and stealth kill it. Then you can carve your own path to the exit. We craft a flash and throw it at the enemies that rush in and make it to the sewers. Just a heads up, the timing for the switches here is extremely tighter compared to the other difficulties. For that reason, I decided to actually fight the Iron Maiden and just clear the path. It's really fast, so be ready for that, but with the sniper rifle, it still goes down easily as long as you can hit the plaga shots. The next area is where we have to ask Ashley to raise the drawbridge in order for us to switch the power, and it's rough. Be sure to loot everything on the way over to include an ornate necklace for later. Once the power is switched, the enemies will flood in, and you really want to get all 4 of the initial enemies that rush in. Once they're down, we run past the spawned regenerator and make our way back just as the enemy that spawns in grabs Ashley. Throw a flash grenade and shoot him with a sniper. Unfortunately, I missed the headshot, so I had to wrestle with the regenerator and finish off the enemy with the pistol at the same time. But once Ashley has the bridge back up, we can cross it, and she'll drop that bad boy in the pit for us. Another puzzle I spent way too long on. We have our shotgun ready for 2 lone Plagas enemies and head into the next merchant with the purpose of repairing our things as usual. The wrecking ball section can be made harmless if you've been saving heavy grenades. Once the section starts, we head to a nice position and throw 2 heavy grenades at the crack in the wall before Ashley can hit it the first time. Be sure to use the explosive barrels to keep some of the enemies that spawn in check as well. This does significant damage to the wall, and when Ashley finally swings the wrecking ball for the first time, the wall will crumble. Be careful as you wait for the elevator to lower, because when you do it this way, some enemies will follow you into the next area, and can just be a bit tedious. At the top of the elevator, we find the massive amber and lose Ashley one more time. Now it's time to head to Krauser's playground, but first we head up to the right to stealth kill this enemy and loot as much of the area as we can before running past the remaining enemies on the ground floor. There are a few items to grab inside Krauser's tent and on the other side before opening the door and finding another merchant. This one is pretty important as we decided to sell the broken butterfly from the castle as well as some treasures that we've been collecting, which gives us a significant chunk of change that will allow us to purchase repairs for everything, as well as the Killer 7 Magnum and a single firepower upgrade for it in preparation for the Krauser boss fight. As we enter the encounter, it's important to watch the starting cutscene until around this part where Leon raises his fist and then skip it from there. We take a few bullets from Krauser as we run up, but for some reason, if you do it this way, Krauser just kind of falls to the bottom area and doesn't come back up to interrupt us, raising the first door. The next encounter is all about speed for me as we quickly turn to shoot the explosive and run forward before Krauser can catch us. Hide behind the wall for the next encounter and be prepared for gun turrets from this point forward. There's a long rounded hallway with a bear trap and another turret that we need to stop short of, as Krauser will always shoot an explosive into the exit. In the long running section, I highly suggest just taking your time. Use the permanent barriers to your advantage and eliminate any hazards in your path until you reach a segment where Krauser will always throw hand grenades. So be ready to double back when you get close enough to him. Upcoming is the first encounter where we actually have to fight Krauser. We slowly enter the room in a way that we can shoot the explosive before Krauser spawns, and then I like to prepare the rifle, hopefully getting a few shots on him as he enters and before he starts firing his TMP. We have a plethora of heavy grenades, so as he drops, I decide to use one here. In any encounter with Krauser, always be prepared to dodge, because dodges are the difference between life and death. I used a mixture of knife and shotgun attacks, as well as taking the maximum advantage of his staggers and melee opportunities. Eventually, he'll transform and will be underground. There are 2 encounters here, and I always take damage on the first one because I can't parry this form to save my life, and the second is a simple dodge prompt. We prep a hand grenade, and up the ladder is the final match with Krauser, and it starts off immediately with a dodge. We turn and throw the grenade for a stagger and hope to get a few magnum rounds off. The idea was to hit all the magnum rounds we had at first, and just kind of wing it from there. I spent a pretty significant amount of time on Krauser during the Hardcore S+ run, so I like to think I learned a lot from there, which made this encounter much more manageable. Once out of magnum rounds, we go back to our roots with a shotgun and rifle. The striker is great at staggering Krauser if you shoot him in the legs. You will still have to dodge a lot, and if you ever get overwhelmed, you can always climb up and loop around for a breather. Just be aware that when you're on the bottom, and he's up top, he has a chance of performing a dodgeable attack. Ultimately, we ended up finishing him off with a hand grenade, and I honestly was ecstatic that we made it through this gauntlet of a chapter on just the second try, and without having to use a save in between. We say goodbye to our old mentor and keep moving forward to save Ashley. Chapter 15 was the next chapter I anticipated spending a lot of time on. We head forward and are introduced to Mike, who's going to help us out quite a bit here. In the first area, things can get a little crowded, but usually, if you can avoid the enemies, Mike will do the doing for you and also expose the path forward. Mike tells us to take a break, and we do just that until he blows up the enemy watchtower in our way. The coast isn't totally clear though, as we shoot an explosive barrel to move some enemies out of the way, and then jolt past some more up the ladder. Usually here, you have to run all the way up the map in order to destroy this anti-air turret, but with one heavy grenade and a nice angle, we can destroy it almost instantly. There's still a lot of enemies left, so before heading forward, we actually take a step back and shoot some enemies that spawn with our rifle and let Mike do the heavy lifting for all the enemies here. Might as well, because we have all the time in the world to finish the game within the required time frame. Mike eventually blows the entrance to one of the harder rooms in the game and conveniently runs out of ammo as we enter, so we're on our own. We beeline straight to the left ladder and climb up, using our shotgun to clear out the turret enemy and flashbangs to help clear the way to the first of 2 switches that need to be pulled to open the door. We then drop down and head to the opposite side by taking the ladder up and stealth killing another turret operating enemy. We pull the second switch and drop down, as things are getting a little bit busy here, but we manage to make it out and into the next area. Once again, surprisingly pretty harmlessly. After Mike falls and we're surrounded by no vista doors, we pretty much just make a straight beeline for the door. Next, we have to traverse the meat locker room, and the trick here is to follow a line that involves just not touching most of the bags, as the enemies won't fall out of them if you don't disturb them. We roll under the door in the most unrealistic way possible, run into the merchant, and use our spindles to get the exclusive upgrade for the Killer 7, and we actually decide to make a save here. This is our first typewriter save of this playthrough, and is going to be our very last save of the run, clocking in at number 15. As mentioned before, we had just been saving at the end of each chapter, but I felt that here was a good spot as ever. As the section coming up can be pretty unpredictable, and making it through the final chapter would serve to be easier than you might think. In hindsight, you could probably prepare to get the Killer 7 exclusive way earlier, because it didn't end up making much of a difference for us this far into the endgame. Finally, we enter the next section and take out a camouflage Novi right out at the gate. Next, we head up the path, shooting an explosive barrel. We have to make it past a brute here and also aim up with our magnum to take out the rocket launcher shooting enemy. Then, shoot the tripwire to enter through the window and fight our way upstairs. Another brute will kick the door open, and we head past him to take out the enemy guarding the turret switch, press it, and quickly turn to shoot the explosive barrels as the brute approaches. We got kicked by the second brute on the way out, but made it past, and jumped over the railing to grab some conveniently dropped healing items at the bottom, making this another one of our closest calls yet. Since we defeated the rocket enemy, we don't have much to worry about other than finding our way past the remaining enemies on the stairs. Finally, we rescue Ashley for the final time and carry her for a long time to Luis's lab and remove the plaga, preparing us for the final battle. Remember, by the way, don't save at the end of the chapter here. This is it, the final battle. We loot Luis's lab and the following area before entering the now destroyed sanctuary. There are a few bugs in the way, one being in the original sanctuary room and then 2 more in the following room. We retrieve a free golden ingot and combine the treasure we have been accumulating, then speak to the merchant for the last time. With the amount of treasure we sell, along with the combat knife, we are able to purchase a 160,000 peseta rocket launcher. We enter the Saddler boss fight with the rocket launcher in hand and shoot Saddler before he can even drop down. Once he drops, the first phase of the fight instantly ends and all we need to do is dodge the giant hentai tentacles Saddler grew. We use the remaining magnum rounds and the bolt-action rifle to hopefully speed things up, and eventually, our chicken head friend tosses us a special red rocket launcher that we very carefully aim in order to finally give Saddler that holy body. Our chicken hat lover immediately betrays us over a rock in a tube, and it's once again time for us to go our separate ways. Don't celebrate because it's not over yet. We grab Ashley and make a break for it, jumping over collapsing cliffs and shooting one last enemy before finding the jet ski Ada left for us and starting the final section. Don't be scared to take it a little slow here. But also don't take your time either. I managed to escape without taking any damage, but it was kind of stressful because I was nervous to be honest. But we finally see the light at the end of the tunnel and hit the exit with a mere 10 or so seconds left on the countdown timer, ending our S+ professional run with just over 8 hours of real time. We watched the sunset of course because this scene is beautiful, and then finally after Hunnigan takes off we can see our S+ roll across the screen with just over 4 hours of in-game time. Overall, this challenge isn't as bad as it seems. I highly recommend you do your due diligence and get all the other challenges before trying this, unless you just want the added challenge. Because seeing all 4 of these challenges roll on the screen at the same time was a blessing and a curse. Be ready to fail, but don't jump right into it like I did last year expecting to fail. Also, after this I was able to unlock the sweeper and hand cannon in the main game, getting us the Gun Fanatic challenge and completely finishing out main game challenges. If you made it this far, thanks for watching and hopefully you'll subscribe for more. And again, the full gameplay of this run will be up on Jeeps_2 if you need to follow a much more precise guide than this. I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jeeps_ and have started streaming here on YouTube as well. So if that's your thing, feel free to stop by. Of course, right now there is still one challenge floating out there for us to complete. Anyways, thanks again. Bye.